Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, before we start the talk today, I have something to say to you. Last week, a good supporter of this vihara and a good friend passed away. He led a quiet but useful and meritorious life. Let us dedicate today's program to his memory. And whatever merit we gain by listening, having a Dhamma study and discussion, etc., to the memory of Percy Kahadur, that is his name, who always listened and participated in these Zoom programs. May he get a good rebirth and attain Nibbana. Okay, so now we'll start on our talk today. Today, 25th June 2022, we are going to discuss the first two verses of the Dhammapada. They are in Pali and also in translation. It has been translated into many languages. So we can understand the English translation, right? So I will say both Pali as well as English. Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta mano maya manasache paduttena bhasativa karotiva tatonang dukkhamang veti chakkang vavahato padam. Now this is the meaning of that verse. All actions are led by the mind. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. Act or speak with a defiled state of mind, then suffering follows, as the cartwheel follows the foot of the ox. We'll go into that later. Now the second verse is this. Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta mano maya manasache pasannena bhasativa karotiva tatonang sukhamang veti chayava anapayini. Now this is the meaning of that verse. All actions are led by the mind. The first part is the same. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. Act or speak with a pure state of mind, then happiness follows, as your shadow follows you without departing. So now let us go into more detail. Friends, before we discuss these two verses, I like to introduce to you the Dhammapada. That Dhammapada, I think you might like to know what sort of book it is. In the 2,600 odd years that Buddhism has flourished in the world, the most popular, widely read and quoted book, Buddhist book, is the Dhammapada. It is so very popular, not only among Buddhists, even among other religionists, it is very popular. Over many centuries, especially in the East, the cultures, the culture of those countries, manners and thoughts of whole nations have been influenced by the sayings in the Dhammapada. The verses and their background stories have been told and retold by parents to their children, and monastics have used them to instruct, inspire, and awaken people. Some have gained virtue or morality, and some people who have been doing wrong things, by listening to the Dhamma or by listening to the Dhammapada or reading the Dhammapada, they have gained virtue and morality and stopped telling lies, killing insects, spreading rumors, or taking what is not given. Also, many have become compassionate and generous and gained wisdom by letting go of greed, hatred, and delusion or ignorance. The Dhammapada becomes a part of one's life because of its transforming qualities. In order to teach these truths, the Buddha used ordinary village scenes or similes that seem familiar to us even today. The Dhammapada consists of 423 verses. Normally it is said 500 verses, but actually there are only 423 verses that are divided into chapters according to their subject matter. Chapter 1 consists of twin verses that lead human beings to different prospects. You see the twin verses, one leads to one prospect, the other leads to another. Let us see. First one is negative and the second one positive. The first can be easily performed. Anyone can do the first one, right? Temporarily satisfying. It can satisfy you, what is said in the first verse. And it is also according to human nature. Now, when I say human nature, you might think, are all of us bad? No, it's not that. But very often we tend to, like the more negative side than the positive side. That is human nature, right? So the second verse runs contrary to human nature. For it does not bring pleasure and requires effort to perform. You see, to do the second one, according to the second one, it is not easy to live, not easy to do the things that are said in that, but needs effort. And also it does not give pleasure. There is a difference between pleasure and happiness. Right. So let us look at it. The sweet and easy way of the first leads only to more suffering. Can you imagine that? It can be sweet while it is being done. And in the end, it brings more suffering. The second leads to liberation in the mundane world as well as in the other world. The Buddha can only show the way. You see? Akkataro Tathagata, the Buddha says. Only the Buddha can show the way. The hard choice is ours to make again and again so that it becomes our personality, right? So that we will, once we take to the more positive idea, we will never do the wrong thing, right? However, we may feel like doing the other side, we will not do it. We have the option of choosing the way, and the one who is wise enough to choose correctly in every thought and deed will find happiness in the present life and the future. Now, that is what I meant when I said, unlike the second one, it might give pleasure at that moment, but a lot of suffering later. The second one, if we take to that, it will give us happiness, and that will be in this world as well as in the next. It's one's mental state that decides which possibility is best to act on. For we are so used to taking the easiest, least unpleasant, and the one that gives us the most pleasure, right? That's how we are used to, right? The Buddha calls this swimming with the current. But to find permanent happiness, one must exert oneself to swim against the current. That is, against every selfish desire. All the other religions in the world believe in an almighty God who is permanent or everlasting and who has created this world and all that's in it. Buddhism teaches us that everything in the universe is impermanent, and all that we experience is created by our thoughts. In the Sabba Sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha says that all that we experience is sense experience. You know, sense and senses, our senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, you know, our senses, right? So Buddha says that whatever we experience is only through the senses. And nama means the mind. And rupa, that is the form, are only two ways of looking at any activity called experience. So when we think of experience, it is definitely sense experience. But at the same time, when we say we are doing it with our body or with our mind, it means that actually we are looking at the experience, right? That is the activity, whatever. Maybe speech, maybe thought, maybe actual action. Mano is the mental process that creates meaning out of the different experiences brought in through the senses. Now the senses bring in the experience to our mind. And mano is, what it does is, it creates a meaning out of it, right? We interpret them according to our likes, dislikes, and memories. If wrongly interpreted, those experiences bring us suffering. And if rightly interpreted, would bring happiness. So, our happiness or unhappiness is what we ourselves create by our thinking. Can you see that now? Present thoughts can affect the future too. And this is what is known as karma. When we act or speak with ill will, anger and so on, or hatred, we'll be punished by society, right? And also in future rebirths. There is nobody doing it to us. Karma naturally, you see, will go on into the next birth and create that suffering. In the second, in the two verses that I uttered at the beginning, the good and evil kamma vipaka. Kamma vipaka means the results of those actions are shown by the Buddha. We reap what we sow in the present and future. We sow in the present and reap in the future. Maybe the present future in this present world itself or in the next world. We are entirely responsible for our happiness or unhappiness. If we do wrong or bad karma, we automatically become the victim of that action. This is like the wheels of the heavily laden cart that follows the hoofs of the ox that is yoked to the cart. You see, the cart is there, fully laden, and the ox is yoked to the cart so that it cannot escape, it cannot go anywhere. However much he may dislike, drawing that big, heavy, whatever is there, he cannot go out of it. He has to bear it. Similarly, when we do things, if we do not take care now, what happens is later we will repent, right? So the animal is bound to the cart, cannot escape, right? When we do evil karma, we too are bound to that karma, and we cannot escape the negative results, like the ox in the simile. When the Buddha was living, a totally blind monk, I'm not going into the whole story of the, it's a long story. I'm not going into the whole story. I'm giving you a brief sketch of the story. So when the Buddha was living, a totally blind monk who was an arahant, though he was blind, he became an arahant, and also he became blind at the same time, right? So had unintentionally, now an arahant will never intentionally kill even an insect, so unintentionally trampled some insects when doing walking meditation, right? When the other monks reported this to the Buddha, the other monks thought that this monk had carelessly done it, right? So they went to the Buddha and reported it. The Buddha uttered this verse, the one that I said earlier, about the ox and the cart, right? And about how the mind is the master and how mind is the maker, right? So when the other monks reported this, the Buddha uttered this verse to explain why he became blind. He had been an eye doctor and had blinded a patient because she had not kept her word about becoming his servant if she was cured. So you can read the story in the Dhammapada. You can find it even online, I think. So I'm not going into the details, right? Usually we do what the mind dictates to us. That's why the Buddha says all actions are led by the mind. Mind is their master, mind is their maker. If we follow the evil path, we'll suffer. In the second verse, it is said how a change of mind from evil to good could produce happy results. Here, a young boy who was ill was not given medical treatment because his father was very stingy, didn't want to spend even on his only child, and did not want to spend for treatment to find a doctor, right? The child was left in the veranda Veranda means the outer, the outer part of the house, right? To die, because he was dying now. Nothing could save him. The Buddha went to see him while on his arms round, and the boy took refuge in the Buddha before he died. He was reborn in a heavenly realm. Now, anyone might think, this little boy, what had he done? He had not done much good. But can you see, just taking refuge in the Buddha itself is the best thing that we can do. That is why we have those 3 refuges. You see, we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha 3 times. Now, that is done because it is one of the best things that we can do, to take refuge. That means a protection for us. Now, see the protection that this child got. The world has 3 laws that govern it. That is anicca, impermanence, dukkha, suffering, and anatta, non-self. Now, these 3 are like 3 wheels, and the world is on top of that. And the 3 wheels drag the world on these 3 wheels. And we who are in the world are dragged along with it. Anicca or impermanence is happening in the universe all the time. Now, while we are talking also, it's happening. That's why there is change even while there is motion. Right now I'm talking, but impermanence is there. Right? Now already so many minutes have gone. Impermanence, right? So, in us human beings and all other beings, their form changes, right? The form changes. Sometimes you cannot see the changes in the form immediately, but after some time, when you look at maybe pictures of you, you can see the changes. But definitely, when we are reborn, we are changed, the form changes. Not only form, feelings also change. And words, thought, etc. Everything changes. Every second that is gone, we have completed a section of our lives and vitality. Now already I have spent so much of my vitality and life cycle, right? Same with you. So the external world as well as our internal world are interacting all the time. Our internal world means the mind, and the external world is what we find outside. The power that is created leads us to think and then act, which is known as karma, bringing suffering or happiness. One day, a man came home after work and found marks of large footsteps on the sand outside the house. Feeling doubts about the visitor, he entered the house. Now can you see how the mind makes things? The mind now had made a big story out of the marks that he saw, right? That somebody had come in his absence and was about to question his wife. You see, when he saw, what did he see? He saw his little son wearing his old shoes and walking about. So that is how the big, marks, foot marks were on the sand. The child would have walked outside also is before that. He thought, now the man thought of how one's own mind could create such misunderstanding and suspicion that could break up a loving family. Smiling to himself, he picked up his little son and kissed him lovingly. So you see, a big catastrophe that would have happened was, stopped because he saw the child wearing the old shoes. So that is how we always act sometimes without thinking. If we develop mindfulness, now this is the way how we could practice this. If we develop mindfulness, we could bring about self-control in our thinking, speaking, and actions, right? So it is only mindfulness. Buddha even in certain places has said that mindfulness is equal to the Noble Eightfold Path. So you can see, if you are mindful all the time, we can get liberated even in this life, right? So then we could gradually take control over our lives, mind and destiny. Otherwise, the mind is controlling our life and destiny. By just following the dictates of the mind, we never see reality as it is. We could set aside 1 hour or half a day or 1 day, as time permits, to observe our thoughts, speech, and actions within that limited time. Now, if you have little time, say 1 hour. If you have more time, half a day. If you have still more time, full day. But you have to be true to yourself and watch properly. This requires mindfulness and awareness. That is called sati sampajanya. Sati is mindfulness. Sampajanya is awareness. It's also called clear comprehension. Carefully investigate every action and thought while doing and afterwards. Now, you must understand, mindfulness is not looking at the object of your senses. Mindfulness is looking at yourself inside while you are speaking or while you are thinking or while you are acting, to look inside, not the outside action, right? That also counts, but that is not mindfulness. Now, at the end of the inquiry, you will see a different person from the normal self you always thought yourself to be. You will understand how the greed, hatred, and delusion have influenced our thoughts, speech, and actions. These are deeply rooted in our minds. Those are called asavas, right? These are what we have brought from our past lives, right? Not one life, but many, many past lives. So they are deeply rooted, and it's necessary to uproot them. It's like a tree. Now a tree, you can see big trees standing, in California and all these areas where there are big trees, you will see them. But this tree that is so big on top, on the earth, has a lot of roots, going into the earth. It's similar to that. Our mind and our thoughts, our emotions, all those are like that. The roots are inside, deeply rooted. We may feel regret, or if we were less angry or less greedy or less deluded, we may want to continue such investigations periodically. This is the way to transcend our normal life style so that we could be liberated from this world. So it is, what is meant here is that if we want to liberate ourselves, we must be aware of our thoughts, actions, and speech. Now, if you have any questions, please ask. You have no questions? Okay, then let us go into our meditation as we usually do. Today, the meditation will be on loving kindness. I thought it's more in keeping with what we have already done, right? Loving kindness. So, metta. So, let us start by being aware of the sitting posture. Now, all of you are seated, not standing. All of you are seated. Some maybe, I don't know whether you are lying down, but normally we are all seated on a chair or on the floor, on the cushion, cross-legged, or it may be on a chair, but it's all okay. In whatever position you are seated, be aware of your sitting posture. That is the way you keep your body, your upper part of the body should be straight, the spine straight, with the neck and the head on top of it. So all that you must be aware of. Then you must relax yourself too. The relaxation normally comes once you sit properly. You are relaxed. Then breathe softly and gently. Now feel the contacts with the earth. Maybe it's the cushion that you're seated on or the chair. Then see how your feet are. Maybe you have kept your feet on the ground, flat on the ground, or you may be cross-legged and then your feet may be touching the floor. See how your buttocks are placed. Then the lower legs, how they are placed. Your hands, how you are keeping your hands. See if your shoulders are relaxed, hands relaxed. Become aware of your whole body and sitting here and now in the present. Now close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Now it's very important that you take the breath and hold it as long as possible and slowly let it go. Take a few breaths like that. Now you are getting ready for your meditation. See if any of the hindrances, the hindrances like sensual desire, ill will, then sloth and torpor or sleepiness, restlessness and worry, and doubt. See if any of those hindrances is or has slowly crept into your mind. They don't all come together. Maybe one of them can come. See it. When you see it, I have a doubt. Is this correct? Is this something that will help me? Like that, has Buddha ever given this kind of meditation? Doubts. So if you have any doubts, just see that doubt and let it go. Now you are ready, right? Ready to do the meditation. Now, let us wish for ourselves first. May I be happy and peaceful. May all my thoughts be positive and all my experiences good. May no harm come to me. May I be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May all difficulties fade away. May I have patience, courage, and understanding to overcome all kinds of difficulties and failures. May my parents and teachers be happy and peaceful. May all their thoughts be positive and all their experiences good. May no harm come to them. May they be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May all difficulties fade away. May they have patience, courage, and understanding to overcome all kinds of difficulties that come in life. May my relatives, friends, and other loved ones be happy and peaceful. May all their thoughts be positive and all their experiences good. May no harm come to them. May they be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May all difficulties fade away. May they have patience, courage, and understanding to overcome all kinds of difficulties that come in life. May all neutral people, like the mailman or the person you meet on the road, or maybe your neighbor who is not a very friendly sort of person, you don't know that person well. All neutral people be well, happy, and peaceful. May all their thoughts be positive and all their experiences good. May no harm come to them. May they be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May all difficulties fade away. May they have patience, courage, and understanding to overcome all difficulties that come into their lives. Now we think of difficult people, that is, may all unfriendly people be happy and peaceful. Sometimes it's not easy to wish for them, but we'll try to wish. May all their thoughts be positive and all their experiences good. May no harm come to them. May they be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May all difficulties fade away. May they have patience, courage, and understanding to overcome all kinds of difficulties that come their way. May all beings living near and far, the seen and the unseen, small and big, skillful or unskillful, be safe, happy, and peaceful. May all beings living near and far, the seen and the unseen, small and big, skillful or unskillful, be safe, happy, and peaceful. May all the deities protect all beings in the world. May the whole world become prosperous peaceful, and safe. May all beings live without fear and worry. Do you have any questions? If you have, or any suggestions, comments, anything that you want to say? Yes, Karuna, it's nice to see you.
Hi, I wanted to thank you for the Dhammapada verses. Are there different versions of it? Because I've heard it a little bit different. It went, mind is the forerunner of all states, mind made are they. If with a corrupted mind, one should either speak or act, suffering follows caused by that. And then the second verse is, mind is the forerunner of all states, mind made are they. If with a clear and confident mind, one should either speak or act, happiness follows caused by that, as does the wheel follow the ox's hoof. So are there different versions?
No, it's almost the same, isn't it? The forerunner means that,
yeah,
when we, let us take an example. Say we see something, right? Now our eyes are here. The object is there. So now what happens? We focus on our eyes there, but still we don't see. The consciousness has to come, the eye consciousness. So with all three of them, the eye consciousness, the eyes, and the object, then the seeing takes place. So that is why it says mind is the forerunner. So without the mind consciousness, it cannot take place.
Yeah.
It is the mind consciousness that makes it happen. Sometimes, if you have noticed, here we are looking at something, but we don't see it. Have you ever come across such a situation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So that is why it says mind is the forerunner. So when you say mind is the maker, mind is the master, it is the same thing. Yeah. Good thing you brought it out. A different interpretation, different versions have different words, but they almost mean the same thing.
Thank you for sharing.
Now, do you like to continue with a few of the verses, or would you have any other suggestion to make?
I have a question.
Yes.
For us, it's about facing our death. Does Buddha have teachings on facing our death in a positive?
Oh, about death, and what is the other one?
In a facing death.
About facing death, right?
In a positive way.
Yeah, I'll try to find something for the next talk. I think that's a nice topic, isn't it? Because we all have to face that one day. So therefore, it's good to be prepared for it. So there may be others, that we want to help, who are facing that kind of situation. In such a situation, how or what would you say? How would you, talk to that person? So these are questions that we can think about. So I think that's all for today. Thank you all for coming. And may all of you be well, happy, and peaceful.